When you think about our cities today, they're absolutely exploding with life, with energy, with opportunity. But let's be real for a second. A lot of them feel, well, unloved. Decades of just copy pasting the same old plans have left us with traffic nightmares, buildings with no soul, and air that's frankly hard to breathe.
So the big question is, can we actually do better? I mean, can we build a new Indian city from the ground up that's not just for cars and concrete, but for people? A place that feels alive, that's resilient, and that feels deeply, authentically Indian. Well, we think the answer is a huge, resounding yes. And what we've got here? This is the blueprint.
All right, so let's just lay it all out. On one side, you've got the problem, the congested, polluted, and kind of generic cities we all know too well. And on the other side, you've got the promise, a city that's humane, resilient, and just a genuinely great place to live. The gap between those two, that's what this entire blueprint is designed to close.
Okay, so where do we even begin with a task this big? Well, it all starts with pillar number 1, getting the foundation right. And that means building at a human scale.
One of the biggest mistakes of modern planning was this idea that bigger is always better. For India's population, we need capacity, sure, but it has to feel human. The secret sauce here is a concept called gentle density. Now, forget those lonely giant skyscrapers. Instead, think about the charming, dense streets of Paris, or even our own older city centers. This approach gives you enough people for shops and cafes to actually work, all while keeping everything walkable and sunny.
And look, you can really see the difference it makes. The old way, it gave us isolated high-rises and streets that are just empty and often feel unsafe. This new blueprint flips that on its head. We're talking about mixed-use blocks, just 3 to 7 stories high, that create neighborhoods that are buzzing 24/7. Why? Because people are living, working, and shopping all in the same place.
So how do you pull this off? It's actually pretty straightforward, based on 2 key ideas. First up, mixed-use zoning. It's a super simple concept. Shops on the ground floor, maybe some offices above, and then apartments on top. This little mix is what keeps streets active and safe around the clock. And second, something called terminated vistas. It's a fancy term, but it just means designing streets so they lead to something beautiful, a local temple, a community hall. It gives the whole cityscape a sense of purpose and makes it a much nicer place to walk around.
Okay, so a good layout is crucial. But a great city needs more than that, right? It needs a soul. It needs character. And that brings us right to our second pillar, contextual, climate-ready architecture.
For a city to feel like home, it has to really belong there. So we're saying goodbye to those generic glass boxes you can find anywhere in the world. Instead, we're diving deep into India's own incredible architectural traditions. Imagine public squares designed like temple mandapas, creating natural airflow. Buildings with those beautiful, intricate jollies that cool the air without any electricity. And jarokas, those overhanging balconies that give shade and connect people to the street below. These aren't just pretty decorations. They are brilliant, time-tested solutions for our climate.
And that sense of belonging, it literally goes down to the stones and the bricks. The blueprint says we have to use local, sustainable materials. So if you're building a city up north, maybe you're using beautiful Jaisalmer sandstone. Down south, it's all about granite. This does 2 amazing things. It slashes the carbon footprint, and it weaves a unique regional identity right into the city's DNA. All right, so we've got human-scale neighborhoods and beautiful climate-ready buildings, but what about all the space in between? The streets, the parks, the squares. That takes us to pillar number 3, reclaiming the public realm. Because for way too long, we've just handed it all over to the car. And this is where we have to be really bold. This is the moonshot. If we want our streets to be our collective living rooms, we need a massive shift. The target? Get this. 60 to 70%, a huge majority of all trips need to happen on public transport or by walking and cycling. Okay. So how on earth do you hit a number that big? Well, there's no single magic answer. It's about a smart, layered system. You have a high-speed metro doing the heavy lifting between neighborhoods. Then, a fleet of electric buses for those medium-range trips, and for that crucial first and last mile, a whole network of e-rickshaws and, importantly, safe, wide cycle lanes. Private cars? They no longer rule the city. Reclaiming public space isn't just about transport, though. It's also about weaving nature back into the city fabric in a really smart way. And here, we're actually looking to the past to solve a very modern problem. We're taking inspiration from traditional bawdis or stepwells and reimagining them as this brilliant blue infrastructure. I mean, not only do they look absolutely stunning, but they're also these urban workhorses, harvesting rainwater, recharging groundwater, and creating these wonderfully cool, shaded spots for the community.
And of course, you absolutely need a lush green canopy to fight that urban heat island effect. You know, where cities get way hotter than the areas around them. We need trees. But not just any trees. We're talking native, even sacred trees that are perfectly designed for India's climate. Neem, which is a natural air purifier. The mighty peepal and banyan for their incredible shade. And amultas for that pop of gorgeous yellow. This isn't just landscaping, this is critical climate infrastructure.
Which brings us to our fourth and final pillar. We've designed a beautiful, walkable green city. But how do we power it all sustainably? This is all about powering a truly resilient future.
The answer here is almost obvious. We have to tap into India's single greatest natural advantage, the sun. And this can't be just a nice to have, it has to be a non-negotiable. The rule is simple. Every new commercial building, every new apartment complex has to generate at least half of its common area electricity from its own rooftop solar panels, period.
And when you look at the numbers, it's a no-brainer. I mean, look at this. India gets nearly double the daily solar energy of your average European city. We are just drenched in sunshine. Relying on fossil fuels was never a necessity for us. It was a choice, and it's a choice we can change.
Now, to make this whole system rock solid, power has to be decentralized. Just think of each neighborhood as its own little power station, a smart microgrid. It's way more efficient, and if there's a problem in one spot, it doesn't knock out the entire city. And we're applying that same logic to water, too, with local recycling plants to tackle scarcity right where it happens.
You know, there's a quote that says, "The failure of a city is a failure of imagination." And that really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This whole blueprint isn't about copying some fancy city from another country. It's about having the imagination to look at our own history, our own climate, and our own culture to build something better that's uniquely ours.
So when you look at all this, the question really isn't, can we solve these huge problems of traffic, pollution, and soulless buildings? The blueprint is here. The time to move on from the failed ideas of the past is right now. The real question is a much bigger one. Are we, all of us together, ready to actually build the lovable, livable, and truly resilient Indian cities of tomorrow?